One loss to Japan is not a crisis, but it is June 11th when this World Cup starts, and after that performance at Wembley, 7 problems are still sitting there unresolved. Tuchel cannot rebuild from scratch. What he can do is fix these before it is too late. Problem 1. There is no real backup to Harry Kane, and the drop-off is huge. Kane missed the Japan game with an injury, and Tuchel said after the match that there is no second Kane. England do not just lose goals when Kane is out. They lose the striker who holds the ball up, brings runners into play, settles messy attacks, and still finishes chances. Tuchel also said England lacked punch in the final part of the pitch, and that was clear against Japan. England had movement, but not much threat. The front line kept drifting around, but Japan never looked truly scared. The worrying part is the gap behind Kane. In Tuchel's March squad, the other out-and-out striker options were Dominic Solanke and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Both are useful players, but neither gives England Kane's all-round game, and neither changes how opponents defend in the same way. That is the real problem. England are not replacing like for like. They are dropping to a different level and a different profile. Jude Bellingham is not a striker, but he may still offer more threat higher up the pitch than those backup options in some games. In the 2023-24 season, he scored 19 La Liga goals for Real Madrid and added 4 more in the Champions League. He has already shown he can arrive in advanced areas and decide big matches, but even that is still a patch, not a true plan B. Problem 2. The width issue has not gone away. After the Japan game, Tuchel said England were way too narrow in the first half. He then said they improved when they used the fullbacks more in the second. That one quote tells you almost everything you need to know about this problem. When England get too narrow, their creative players end up crowding the same central zones. Opponents stay compact, the attack becomes predictable, and nothing happens. Japan did not have to do anything complicated. They just stayed tight and let England pass sideways in front of them. That puts enormous pressure on the fullbacks to fix it. But England's fullback setup is still not fully settled. What does Tuchel actually want from them? Does he want defensive cover first? Or does he want one of them to become a genuine attacking weapon when games get stuck? This is why the Trent Alexander-Arnold conversation will not go away. Not because Trent deserves a guaranteed starting spot, but because his profile solves a specific problem: switches, diagonals, early service from deep. That is exactly what England lacked for most of that first half. The question is not just whether Trent plays, the question is whether England have a clear answer to what their fullbacks are supposed to do. Right now, they do not. Problem 3. Foden, Palmer, Bellingham and Morgan Rodgers. They are all very good players. The problem is that they often want to work in similar parts of the pitch. They like to come inside, get on the ball and play in tight spaces. That can look smooth for a few minutes. It can also make England feel crowded and easy to read. Against Japan, England's attack looked busy but not sharp. The front line moved around, but there were not enough runs in behind, and the team lacked punch in the last part of the pitch. Tuchel said that himself after the match. This is why Tuchel has to make a real choice. He cannot just put all the best names on the pitch and hope it works. He has to decide who gives control, who gives direct threat, and who gives balance. Foden and Palmer both like the ball to feet. Rodgers brings power, but he can still drift into the same lanes. Bellingham is arguably the most versatile. He can play deeper, he can also arrive late, run beyond the striker, or play closer to goal. That is why using Jude higher up, especially when there's no Harry Kane, can be part of the answer too. In the 2023-24 season, he scored heavily for Real Madrid and showed he can hurt teams near the box. It would not solve everything, but it could give England a clearer shape and more threat. Problem 4. England still do not have one clear shape. Tuchel said England used a new formation against Japan. Trying new things is normal. The problem is the timing. This March camp was the last one before he names his World Cup squad in May. That means England should be getting closer to clear answers now, not adding more big questions. Before a tournament, a team needs one main shape it trusts, not one shape forever. Just one basic setup the players know well. Something they can fall back on when the game gets messy, the crowd gets loud, or the pressure goes up. Right now, England do not fully have that. The shape keeps changing. The fullback roles still feel unclear. The attack still does not have a fixed order. And the Kane backup problem is still there too. A strong team can switch systems when needed, but that only works if the team already has a solid base to return to. That is the difference between being flexible and being unsure. At the moment, England still look a bit unsure, and with the World Cup getting close, that is a real problem. Problem 5. The mentality issue is real, even if people do not like saying it. This part needs care, because mentality is often used when people do not want to explain what really went wrong. But in this case, there is something real to talk about. England were booed by their own fans at Wembley at halftime and again at full-time against Japan. That does not mean the team is mentally weak, but it does show how quickly the mood around England can change when things start going badly. What mattered was how England reacted. They did not look calm, they did not look fully sure of themselves, they looked rushed, flat, and unsure of what to do next. That is the concern. In international football, there is no long season to recover. There is no easy way to play through bad form. If the pressure rises in a World Cup game, England have to deal with it right away. That means staying calm when the game gets ugly. It means trusting the plan when the crowd gets nervous. It means not forcing things just because the moment feels heavy. After Japan, that question still feels open. Tuchel may not want to call it a mentality problem, but the way England looked once Wembley turned on them says the mental side is still part of the story. Problem 6. Fitness problems are making everything harder to judge. England did not play Japan with their strongest group. Kane was out. Rice, Saka, Stones and Henderson were also missing from the camp at different times. Bellingham had also been managed carefully earlier in the season. Tuchel spoke before the camp about how hard this stage of the season is, with players coming from title races, relegation fights and big European games. The problem is not just that important names were missing. Fitness issues do more damage than that. They break rhythm. They stop players from building understanding together. They force the manager to use mixed lineups instead of the team he really wants to test. That makes every answer harder to trust. So yes, England were missing players against Japan, but that is not an excuse that sits outside the story. It is part of the story. If the main spine of the team is never together for long enough, Tuchel cannot fully test the shape, the balance, or the partnerships he wants. He ends up guessing more than knowing. And before a World Cup, that is a real problem because close games are often decided by small details and strong connections. Problem 7. England still look too open when the ball is lost. Japan's goal came from a turnover. England gave the ball away, Japan broke quickly, and Kaoru Mitoma finished the move. That kind of goal tells you more than just who scored. It shows what England look like when their attack breaks down and they have to react fast. It is easy to blame one moment or one player. Palmer lost the ball, yes. But the bigger issue is what happened right after that. Were England in good positions to stop the counter? Were the fullbacks placed well enough? Were the midfielders close enough to cover the space? Did the attackers react quickly, or did they just stop and watch? This is why transition defending links to everything else in the team. If the shape is unclear, the distances get messy. If the fullbacks go forward without balance, the space behind them opens up. If the attack is crowded and confused, the counter-press is slower. All of those problems show up at once when possession is lost. That is why this matters so much. Against Japan, England looked too easy to break through in that moment, and it cost them the game. These problems feed into each other. No game plan, no shape, no width, no transition control. Japan did not invent new fears about this England team. It confirmed the old ones. Like and subscribe. If you want more football stories approaching the World Cup, the next video is right there.